Welcome to this Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. It's a Thursday. Ryan Roberts here, so you know that means that we are bringing you an inside look into some of the best football players in the entire country. We closed the book on 2021 NFL Draft, so we want to start talking about some guys that could potentially be 2022, could maybe be in 2023. It really depends because I'm talking to a true junior offensive tackle out of Ole Miss. He's been the starting left tackle for the last 2 years, starting 22 games for the Rebels. He's been very successful. We're talking freshman All-American. We're talking All-SEC. Joined by Nick Broeker, again, starting left tackle from Ole Miss. Nick, appreciate you again, man. Taking some time. How's everything been going for you?
Going good so far. Just got back in Oxford, starting to work out here and everything. Been home after finals, which was great. Got to see the family, get home for a little bit, but now, it's back to work.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, like I said, Nick, I know you've accomplished a lot in a pretty short amount of time, only a couple years. So I want to kind of take you back to start out with. I know you're originally an Illinois guy, Sacred Heart Griffin High School. So talk to me a little bit about the recruiting process and what brought you down ultimately, and what was it about the Rebels that sold you that was the best fit for you coming out?
I think the big thing for me was just the fit for Ole Miss. Just I fell in love with the town right away in Oxford, and Ole Miss as a school. I always tell people if I didn't play football, Ole Miss was definitely the type of school I'd want to go to, from an academic standpoint, and just the whole family feel. That was huge for me, and not just for me, but my family as well. We fit right in right away.
Mm-hmm. And I know it's sometimes offensive line is a little bit of a tougher transition, just from high school to college, because obviously there's a maturation, there's a physical development, and obviously on top of learning the scheme and learning the plays, all that type of stuff. What do you feel like for you was kind of what was the big, I don't say reason, what was the big indicator for you or big determiner for you, in your opinion, that you were able to have such an easier transition and have that early playing time for Ole Miss?
I think I had a really good group of older guys that really helped me. It's the second I stepped foot on campus, right after I graduated high school, they really took me in and helped me, which was great for me. And, the high school program I came from was really successful too. The way we run things and operate is kind of like a college level in a way. So, just having those two things was big for me.
And I know obviously you had a transition again because you're, freshman All-American. Then there's a coaching change. Obviously, Coach Kiffin coming in, who, has a great reputation as an offensive guy. And then Ole Miss obviously has a big turnaround as a team. I feel like the atmosphere around the program is noticeably different. I feel like the offense under Matt and all the great receivers and running backs you guys have had, Jerrion Ely, there's a lot of great players. What was that transition period like, and how have you enjoyed just playing under Coach Kiffin so far?
It was, at first was kind of weird. Obviously with any coaching staff, any change, it's different. You never really know what to expect. But since day one, when Kiffin came in, we all loved him. It was his team, and, just having him around, there is a different sense of energy, for sure. And I think everyone's really come around, and we all love Coach Kiffin.
And I know a lot of people are going to want to talk, of course, about the great skill position guys. I just mentioned a couple of them with Matt Corral and Jerrion Ely, and Kenny Yeboah is off to the NFL, and Elijah Moore. Talk to me about this offensive line, though, a little bit, because I think it's really been undersold. I mean, our starting right tackle last year gets drafted. Ben Brown is a great player inside. How good has this just room of offensive linemen been, and how special do you think you guys can continue to be moving forward?
Yeah, like you said, we got a lot of talent, especially last year. Royce was here too. Obviously he's in the NFL now, but, we have a great room. And I think a big part of it too is we just get along together really well. We communicate really well. We work together really well. And Ben does a great job of communicating, the front and the call to everything for us. So, it is a great room for us.
And can you talk to me a little bit, Nick, about the pressure? I don't know if pressure is the right word. The challenges that you have each week, because playing in the SEC, you're playing against the best players in the country. And then also, that conference is known for outstanding defensive ends and edge talent, and you're the starting left tackle, man in the blind side. How difficult is it on a week-to-week basis, and how much do you love just that competition facing off against such great players on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, that is the main thing, is I do love the competition. That's why I did pick Ole Miss, as another reason, just the level of football it is. There's no easy weeks, in any game in this conference. That's just something you got to put your best foot forward every week. Each week is a new guy. It's a new challenge. So that's just something I personally love.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely a big challenge. Every single year we're seeing guys come out. So,
No doubt.
there's more guys on the horizon too. Alabama's always got some dudes.
Mhm.
There's always going to be guys, and I'm really excited for you, Nick, because I think that you obviously put your name on the map early. You're an All SEC selection again this past year. For you now to not only be to be considered one of the top offensive linemen in the SEC, but maybe to ascend to being one of the top offensive linemen in the nation. What do you feel like is the next step in your maturation and your development as a player?
I think the biggest thing for me now is kind of stepping up as, in more of a leadership role. We don't really have the guys like Alex Givens, Mike Howard, Eli Johnson, Bryce Matthews, and Royce, all those older guys who was very clear cut, is their room. That's something I've really got to step up, on the field, getting better with my footwork and my hands and really just cleaning up all the fundamentals.
And what was this spring practice like for you? I know it had to be nice. We're dealing last offseason with COVID-19 pandemic. Conferences are canceling all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
SEC, of course, handled it, in my opinion, pretty well. So I know it was kind of a little more business as usual. But now that we're kind of on the brink of what looks like, better times coming as far as the pandemic is concerned, what was it like just being with the guys and hopefully what is a more normal reality of the team?
It was great having spring ball. It was my first one. It was my first spring ball. So, getting all the reps in and getting some more one-on-one time, individual time with the coaches and everything. And, just seeing how the room was going to be, it was great for us in the sense that we were able to get some guys to play some other positions and everything, kind of build some more depth. So, I thought this spring was a really good thing for us.
And I know that you mentioned a few of the older guys that you've been able to play with the last couple of years, like Royce and Alex, and a lot of great offensive linemen that have already come through. Are there some players, though, outside of the program, whether it's when you were growing up or now, that maybe you watch a ton that you might try to emulate to a degree?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a big Taylor Lewan fan, David Bakhtiari fan. Those are kind of my two favorite guys in the league. Lane Johnson's another guy I really like too, but those have kind of been always the guys I've really looked to and kind of watched their tape and try to kind of pull some things from it.
And I know, like we said, the atmosphere around the team, you said, feels different. I know that there is a lot of great things to come. For you now, moving into 2021 season, what are the next steps for yourself as a player and for the team that would make it a great junior season for you?
As a player, just cleaning up all the little things, not missing with my hands, maybe not turning my hips too too quickly on pass. But as a team, I think, there's plenty of times last year, if you watch any games, there was never a game we were out of, there was never any of that. So I think just kind of finishing those games and, if we get the lead, don't lose it, at things like that, that'd be huge for us. And I think, we've got a chance to be really, really special this fall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of great things that are coming, especially for that offense. But for the team, I wanted to ask a little bit about, because I know there's guys like Sam Williams and Henry at linebacker, and there's a lot of good football players I think are a little underrated. Tisdale at defensive line. Face it off against a defense that has this type of talent, because I feel like there's great athletes everywhere. How has that been able to help you, besides for playing a SEC schedule, but just on a week-to-week basis to face off against some great football players in practice?
Yeah, Sam Williams helps me out a ton every week during practice, going against a guy like that, that's how you get better, in my opinion, going against great guys like that. And as you said, Tiz is really good. Lakia, Momo, Otis Reese, there's a lot of really good players on that defense. There's a lot of talent. So, definitely something. And, this whole spring was really competitive on both sides. The defense had gotten a lot better and they were kind of in it for a little bit. So, it was great for us.
And I know you're a guy that is eligible for 2022. Maybe it's 2023. We'll see kind of what happens and how everything unfolds. But for you, just to kind of think, just 2 years ago, you're playing high school football and you're pretty close to potentially playing professional football. How long has that been a dream for you to potentially play the game that I'm sure you've loved for a long time?
It's always been a dream for me, to play professional football. Just since I was a little kid, it was always around football. I know my brother and my dad both played Big Ten football. So it was just something it was always around growing up. It was always us watching college football on Saturdays and NFL on Sundays. So, it's always been a dream of mine.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of my last follow-up to that is, when that moment does come, again, I don't know exactly when it's going to come. I feel like it's going to be somewhere in the near future because I think you're a damn good football player. But when that does happen, what type of blessing would it be? Because you mentioned, just from a young kid and coming up in a football family, but just thinking of that moment, how special and much of a blessing would that be for you?
Yeah, like you nailed it right on the head. It's gonna be a special, special moment. It's gonna be a really emotional moment for not just me, but for the rest of my family. Just seeing your dream come true. I mean, there's not gonna be a thing like it. So.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that day. I'm looking forward to this fall again, where Mr. Nick Broeker will be the starting left tackle for the Ole Miss Rebels. Nick, appreciate you again, man. Just taking a little bit of time. It's awesome being able to, read backgrounds and reports and high school profiles and all that type of stuff. But just being able to speak in person, this was a lot of fun for me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Me too. Thanks for having me.